Hey guys, I hope that you're having a great day. I wanted to cut a very short video explaining a little bit of the differences between the three classes that we offer: the Paleo Total Transformation or Nutrition 101, the Keto Masterclass or Nutrition 201, and the Carnivore Code Nutrition 301. I get asked very frequently, what's the difference in terms of ancestral health and nutrition or evolutionary nutrition between the three? It's important to understand that all three are what we consider to be ancestral nutrition, or how our body was designed to function. The differences are minute. So everything is based upon a foundation of paleo. That's why paleo is Nutrition 101. That is our real human diet, what we were always designed to eat, which is avoidance of processed foods, avoidance of refined sugars and sweeteners, sugar alcohols, grains and legumes, which are not intended for human consumption or even mammal consumption. They're poisonous. They are the highest concentration of phytates and lectins, two of the biggest toxins that accumulate inside of our body and destroy the lining of our intestine, leading to leaky gut, and then by virtue of that, to all autoimmune disease and many metabolic diseases. They are one of the things that erode our health. And then we look at inflammatory items. So going back to your grains, highly inflammatory, legumes, highly inflammatory, dairy, highly inflammatory for most people, especially store-bought dairy. Sugar, highly inflammatory. Processed foods, artificial chemicals, sweeteners, flavors, shelf life stabilizers, highly inflammatory. Industrialized seed oils, highly inflammatory. We know that canola and corn oil and vegetable oil lead to heart disease and have never even been tested for human consumption because of that. So that's the basic paleo foundation. Real food as we were designed to eat it in accordance with how our biology functions. What is keto then? Keto is not dirty keto. It is not keto products. It is not sugar alcohols. It is not necessarily even high fat. It is a extension of paleo whereby we reduce carbohydrate intake, even healthy carbohydrates like fruits and vegetables, because of insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is the opposite of insulin sensitivity, which is optimal. We want our body to respond in accordance when our insulin goes up. And insulin resistance is really the component of most metabolic diseases: heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, Alzheimer's and dementia. All of these things are because of how our body doesn't regulate insulin as the first hormone in the cascade of hormones that we talk about in the video Hormones of Hunger. So you can go back and watch that. So it is just a lower carbohydrate version of paleo. That's it. And that works for many people. People who have diabetes, people who have epilepsy, people who have cancer, people who have other metabolic diseases and they want to get a handle on them can start keto and then transition to paleo, or may find that they function best at maintaining a lower carbohydrate version of paleo. So then what is carnivore and what is animal-based? Carnivore and animal-based go hand in hand. Carnivore, strictly speaking, is an all animal sourced diet, meaning meat, fish, eggs, all forms of seafood and crustaceans, butter, dairy is okay on carnivore unless you react and are inflamed by dairy, in which case then it wouldn't be. Bone broth, gelatin, organ meat, all of those things. In the strictest sense of carnivore, where do we use that? We use that for people who have chronic issues that aren't being improved or are not being completely eradicated with paleo or with keto. And then animal-based is a transition between carnivore and the others, where we reintroduce the forms of plants that are the lowest in toxins. So remember, we talked about phytates and lectins being the highest toxin loads, the most dangerous plant toxins. But in reality, every plant is poisonous. Every plant has poison as a defense mechanism to some extent. And different people react differently to those plant poisons. So if you've ever heard of the Autoimmune protocol made popular by Sarah Ballantyne, that avoids nightshades, right? Those are eggplants, peppers, cloves, cinnamon, just nuts and seeds that contain, that are in the nightshade family. That is one form of toxin. High histamine foods, another form of toxin. Sulforaphanes, onions, garlic, another form of plant toxins. Fungus, which is not a plant or an animal, but has its own toxin to protect itself. Let's see. Oxalic acid, which is very high in kale, broccoli, spinach, your cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, things we actually eat a lot of in keto, can be toxic to certain people. So if you're not experiencing the kind of results that you wanted to get when you work paleo or keto, there could be a plant toxin specifically bothering your system. That might be temporary because the gut has dysfunction, or you have a leaky gut, or it could be permanent based on your genetics or your epigenetics, which are the factors in your lifestyle that determine how your genetics are expressed. So with carnivore, what we do is we peel back all the layers of the onion. We start with the most simple. The people who come to me with the most severe health issues, we typically start carnivore because A, it's simple, it's easy as can be, and it eliminates the potential for every possible trigger. Then we reintroduce from a level of lowest toxin to highest so that you start to understand what your body reacts to, and we experiment with those different toxins. So what I found was I actually did very poorly on keto at certain periods, and I didn't understand why. When I went carnivore, what I learned was that some of the foods I was eating a lot of, because they were very predominant in my low carb lifestyle, like spinach and kale and broccoli, actually were causing a lot of the trigger that was my joint pain, my hips, my feet. And so when I removed things that were high in oxalic acid, I learned that that is a particular trigger for me. Whereas I can incorporate nightshades. I eat jalapenos and peppers and hot sauce, and I don't have a problem with that. But I had to learn what my body specifically liked and disliked in relationship to the autoimmune conditions that I had. Remember, we don't cure autoimmune conditions, we put them into remission. So if a trigger comes back into your diet or lifestyle, that trigger can exacerbate that condition that is still underlying or that you have a propensity towards. So that's the simplest way that I can give you. But in animal-based, which is essentially now how I live, I eat the least toxic fruits and vegetables, which are not necessarily in keeping with the ketogenic platform, right? So in keto, we do have a lot of berries and citrus because they're lower in glycemic load, lower in fructose. Whereas in carnivore, sorry, the dogs are playing. In carnivore, yes, we do berries and citrus because they are low in toxins, but we also add in apples and mango, papaya, and other higher carbohydrate fruits. I was surprised to find that when I reincorporated honey into my diet and my carbohydrate load went up, I actually still felt better and lost more weight. This is something we have to play around with. Part of that, though, I also believe can be attributed to the intermittent fasting and long-term fasting that we incorporate into our lifestyle, because that also helps to improve insulin sensitivity over time. And I was very insulin resistant several years ago, so that every time my carbohydrate load would go up, I would begin to gain weight. And now I have found that I can kind of play with what my carbohydrate load is within the parameters of low toxin and have a higher carbohydrate intake and continue to lose weight and feel good and not be so inflamed. Okay, so for more information, you do have to take the class because there's a lot of detail. There's 18 videos in the Carnivore Code class. There's 16 videos in the Keto Master class, 15 videos in the Paleo Total Transformation. I recommend that every person take all 3 in succession. Start with the Paleo Total Transformation. It lays the groundwork. Then go to the Keto Master class so that you understand how carbohydrates work in the body and how to do keto correctly, because 99% of the people out there giving you keto advice are doing it wrong. And then thirdly, take the Carnivore Code class. Begin to understand what your body wants and needs and listen to what your body tells you. The biggest mistake people make when they come to us and begin working with us is they've been telling their body not to give it signals. They ignore the aches, the pains, the symptoms. They shush their body. Meanwhile, your body is here telling you exactly what it wants. So the goal of working with us, the goal of going through these classes, the goal of doing the assessment and bridging the gap with the micronutrition is always to listen to what your body says, because your biology knows, you don't. And that is why, for those of you who've worked with me for a long time, you know that my motto is fire your brain, hire your heart, and follow your gut. Your brain will always be a liar. It will never know what's accurate. Your heart always knows the direction you should go in, and your gut controls absolutely everything about you. So I hope that more of you will enroll in the classes. It'll answer a lot of your questions. Do the 90-day roadmap to success. Do it in 90 days paleo, do it 90 days keto, 90 days carnivore. Start to see what your body tells you it responds best to. And most of us are going to be a combination thereof of those 3 things. And so what works for you is going to be different than what works for other people. We can guide that through the genetic test. We can guide that through the assessment. We can guide that through the classes. But ultimately, you are completely unique. And it's going to take you a few years, usually, to figure out what's best for you. And that will also evolve over time and change. So having the full foundation of that education and understanding how the human body and biology respond to different things gives you the best leg up on living your optimal life and having longevity. I hope that answers your questions, and you guys have a fantastic day.